안녕하세요, 여러분. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the particles 올 and 룰, and these are called object marking particles. They mark the object or the what in our sentence. So what we learned before was topic marking particles, the who of the sentence. Now we're learning the what sentence. So our object is the direct object according to the verb. So for example, if I eat pizza, if I'm eating pizza, what am I eating? I'm eating pizza. The action, the verb to eat, is acting on the pizza. And these are like any particle in Korean. Only the nouns will get it. So the noun in sentence receives the action. It gets acted on. So when we have a noun that ends with a consonant, we're going to use ul. When we have a noun that ends with a vowel, we're going to use 룰. So for example, milk, 우유, ends with u, a vowel. So we do 룰, 우유를, and then 물, water, ends with a 릴, consonant. So we add ul, 물을. That one's kind of hard to say. And then I have some examples here. So like I just used the example of eating something. I eat ramen. 저는 라면을 먹어요 or 먹습니다. So when we're making a sentence, first thing we can think about the order. This one's simple. I ramen eat. Next thing, you plug in your Korean words and then you make sure that you have the correct particle. So I am the topic of the sentence here. So I'm going to put 는, 저는, and then what am I eating? I'm eating ramen. So 라면, and that ends with a consonant. So we do 울, 라면을 먹어요, 먹습니다. Next one, I met a friend at the park. So this one's a little bit longer. 저는 공원 친구를 만났어요. 만났습니다. So this time, I at the park, a friend met. This one's in past. I am the topic, so we're gonna go ahead and put 는, 저는, and then where did I meet my friend? I met them at the park. So 공원 is next. And then this one was a little bit tricky because we're saying what in relation to the verb. So to meet, what did I meet? And instead of what, we're going to say who or what did I meet? I met a friend. So that makes 친구, even though they are a person, that makes them the object in this sentence. That 만나다 is acting on 친구. Who did I meet? I met my friend. And the last one we have here, I drank coffee this morning. So I, this morning, coffee, drink. I am the topic. So 저는, when, 오늘 아침, what, 커피, and we want to mark that. 커피를 마셨어요, 마셨습니다. So like any particle, I believe I mentioned it before, but the particles, all they do is let us know how a word functions in our sentence. So thanks to ul and 룰, that lets the person we're talking to know what is the object of our sentence. You know, what is the verb acting on. So if I'm watching a movie is our object. So what if I was learning Korean, what is the object in that sentence? Korean, right? I'm learning Korean. Learning is acting on it. If I'm cooking dinner, what is the object? Object will be dinner. Cooking is acting on dinner. And I'll ask you one more. If someone is building a house, what is the object in that sentence? The object is the house. They are building the house. So building is acting on the word house. So I had a little exercise here you may have already done, but this is just helping you recognize or memorize the role for when to use which one of these. So I'll go ahead and answer these in the video. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can pause and do it yourself. So 사람, the last letter is M, 미음, so that's our consonant. It's going to be 사람을. Okay. 핸드폰, last letter is the 니은, that N, that also will be the same thing. 핸드폰을, 의자, last letter is A, that's a vowel. So 의자를, 우리, last letter E or I, 우리를, and 차 also ends with A, 차를. And I'll erase these for next, for anyone who wants to not be spoiled. Alright, now this is where it can kind of get a little bit tricky. So there are nouns and there are verbs, right? A noun is a person, a place, or a thing. A verb is an action. Usually, sometimes they have descriptive verbs, which we usually think of as adjectives. But in Korean, we also have things called hada verbs. And those are verbs that end with hada, right? So a lot of times, not every hada verb, but a lot of hada verbs are basically a combination of a noun and the word hada. So for example, the word homework, 숙제. 숙제, homework is just a thing, right? And then hada means to do. So when we put them together, 숙제 hada, it means to do homework. So a lot of times what happens with those types of hada verbs, they get split in half. You can think of it. They kind of get separated like that. And then when you do that, the noun becomes our object. So usually we put the ul or 룰 on that. So if it says 숙제를 합니다. 숙제를 해요. What am I doing? I'm doing homework. So action verbs, a lot of times just noun plus 하다, as I said before. So I study, 공부를 해요, right? It's usually 공부하다, 공부해요, but it may get broken up into split in half, I should say, like this. 공부해요, 공부해요. And then we're going to put our object marker on it because that makes it the object. But this is where it gets a little even more tricky, is that sometimes there's already an object in place, so you can't use it in that case. In those cases, you should keep the noun and 하다 together. So here's an example. I study Korean. 저는 한국어를 공부해요. I am the topic. Korean is the object. What do I study? I study Korean. The studying is acting on Korean. Okay, so Korean is our object. In the next sentence, we couldn't break up 공부 and 하다 here because we already have one. We can't have two objects. You see, that's not right. So 한국어를 공부를 해요. Incorrect. In this case, we would keep them together since we already have an object in the place. We can only have one at a time. All right. So like I was saying before, not all verbs that end with hada can be separated like this. There are a lot of verbs that are a noun, which means they're a word all on their own. For example, 일, that means a task or a duty. And then when we add hada to it, it makes it a whole different word altogether. It means to work. So hada, to do. To do a task is to work. 일하다. Another one, 운동, that means an exercise, a thing, right? An exercise. To do a singular exercise is to work out. So 운동 can exist on its own, or it could be added as part of a hada verb to make a entirely different meaning. Or not entirely different, but you know what I mean, to make a different meaning. Yeah, they can be put up like this. So whenever you see a hada verb, if you're not sure if you can split it up or not, then you can just keep them together. It's not the end of the world if you do that. Perfectly fine to do that, but just keep it in mind. Or if you're just confused in general, you don't have to split them up and keep them together. It's totally fine. This is just something that a lot of native Korean people do because it feels natural to them. They break it up. So when you keep it together, when it can be broken up, you should. So when a Korean learner keeps it together, it's not like they're not gonna understand you. It's just if it'll feel maybe a little bit unnatural. And then onto adjectives, as I called them before, descriptive verbs. Descriptive verbs do not need the object particle because they don't have any objects. So 행복하다, for example, I'm not gonna say 행복을 하다. That wouldn't be right. We're gonna keep them together. Or 좋다, to be good. If I want to say this movie is good or the movie was good, 영화 좋다. We're gonna conjugate that, right? Take off the da. The last vowel is o, so we need the ayo in. 영화 좋아요. Okay. Well, we're not gonna say 영화를 좋아요 because what 좋아요 is doing is describing something. It's describing the movie. It's not acting on it, so we can't use 를. We could use 는, 영화는, or in the upcoming lesson we're going to learn about 가. We can use 가. 영화는, 영화가 좋아요. And that just lets us know that 영화 is the topic of the conversation or the subject of the conversation. So if we had a verb, then we could use 를. So if we're watching a movie, take the last letter is O. We're going to add 아요. It's contracted. 봐요. 영화를 봐요. There we go. So if I'm watching a movie, then I use the object. Let's do one more like that. 한식 is Korean food. 맛있다 is delicious. So 한식 맛있다. I'm trying to say Korean food is delicious. So which particle do I put on 한식? I will be putting 은, 한식은, or 한식이 맛있다. Let's conjugate this. Take off the da. Okay. Last vowel is E, so we need the O. So we need the oyo ending. 맛있어요. 한식이 맛있어요. Okay, and now up next, if I want to say I eat Korean food, 한식 먹다, and let's conjugate this. So last vowel is O. We need the oyo ending again. 한식 먹어요. Which particle are we doing here? 울. 한식을 먹어요. I eat Korean food, because this time we're acting on object. Okay, and finally we have a little quiz here. You may or may not have already done it, but what I want you to do is to fill in the correct object particle and then translate the sentence. So quickly I'll go through the answers. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can pause and do these yourself. So the first one, 저는 피자 먹어요. So 저, that's I, right? Then we have 피자. Oops, actually it's spelled correctly. 피자 is pizza. There are no Z's in Korean, so usually a Z will become a J. 피자, okay? Last letter is a vowel, so we need 롤 there. 피자를 먹어요. I eat pizza, or I am eating pizza. They're both correct ways to translate it. And why? Because to eat is acting on the pizza. What am I eating? I'm eating pizza. Okay? Number 2. 우리 어머니가 비빔밥 만들어요. 우리 어머니, our mom, our mother, or it could even be my mom, my mother. In Korean, a lot of times they'll use the word 우리, which usually means we, our, us, right? They'll use that to say my when referring to their family members. So 우리 어머니가 비빔밥 is Korean dish. 만들어요. So to make is acting on the bibimbap. What is she making? She's making bibimbap. So which one do we use? 울 or 롤? bibimbap. 울. 만들어요. So this means my mother is making bibimbap, or my mother makes bibimbap. Okay? Number 3. 그들은 한국어 공부해요. So this time we have 그들, which means they, like a plural. More than one person, right? So 한국어, Korean language, 공부해요, study. They study Korean. So which one we're going to use here? We're going to use 룰, because the last letter is a vowel. Okay, next one, number 4. 제 고양이는 땅콩버터 싫어해요. So 제 means my, 고양이, cat. My cat is our topic. So we put all of that behind 는. 땅콩버터, peanut butter, and then 싫어해요, hate. So what does the cat hate? The cat hates 땅콩버터. 땅콩버터를, because it ends with a vowel, 싫어해요. Alright, and then number 5. 저는 오늘 숙제해요. I, today, homework, doing. So I do my homework today, or I'm doing my homework today, and it ends with the vowel, so we need 를. 숙제를 해요. 저는 오늘 숙제를 해요. Okay, and then our last 2. 우리는 TV 봐요. So we, television or TV, watch. We watch TV, or we are watching TV. So what is our object? Well, I guess we know our object, but which one do we use? 룰 or 울? 룰. TV를 봐요. Okay, and number 7. 너 소주 마셔요? So this one's a question. 너 is you. That is the topic of our sentence. So we could say 너는, and then soju, we're drinking the soju. So that is our object particle. That is our object in the sentence. So we're going to use which one? 울 or 룰? 소주를, because it ends with the vowel. 너 소주를 마셔요? So how do we translate this? It can actually be translated 2 ways. So the first way is, do you drink soju? And the next way is, are you drinking soju? Like, are you drinking it right now? Okay, and then the last thing we have here was some sentence practice. Now you can translate these sentences. So here I have the first 2 already translated. So the last 1, 2, 3, 4 are for you to do. These first 2 are translated. Let's go through it. We watch Korean dramas at home on the weekend. So what's our order? First thing to figure out. So we know who is first. Who, we, okay? When are we watching Korean dramas at home? On the weekend, okay? Where are we watching Korean dramas on the weekend? We're watching it at home, okay? What are we watching at home on the weekend? We're watching Korean dramas. That's our object. And then to watch should go at the end, right? It's our order. Who, when, where, what, for. Okay, Okay, plug in our Korean. So we, 우리, and that's our topic. So we're gonna do 는. 우리는 when, 주말, where, 집, what, 한국 드라마. So we're gonna mark that as our object. 한국 드라마를 and then watch. Boil in its present tense. Next one. They made pasta quickly on Friday. So what's our order? Topic always the first. Who? Okay, when? We know on Friday. Where? We don't have that in this sentence, so we skip over that. Okay. What did they make quickly on Friday? They made pasta. So that's our what. And then how did they make pasta on Friday? They made it quickly. And then made. But this sentence is past tense. So we plug in all of our Korean. 그들. That's our topic. It ends with the consonant, so we're going to do 은 this time. 그들은 금요일, Friday, 파스타를 ends with the vowel, so we're going to do 를. 파스타를 빨리. How do we make it? Quickly. 빨리 만들었어요 or 만들었습니다 because this is a past tense sentence. And there we go. So the next few are just for you guys to work out on your own, but I will show the answers really quick. So this first one, I worked hard at the office on Friday. 저는 금요일 회사 열심히 했어요 or 했습니다. 우리는 오늘 도서관 책 읽어요. 읽습니다. Okay? So 우리는 오늘 도서관 책 읽어요 or 읽습니다. And that last word, the pronunciation, we're kind of skipping over the L sound. 읽습니다. I studied Korean hard yesterday at home. So I yesterday at home Korean studied. 저는 yesterday 어제 at home 집. What did I study? I studied Korean. 한국어를 instead of the vowel 를. How did I study? I studied hard. 열심히 and then this is past tense. I studied. 공부했어요 or 공부했습니다. And like I said before, we already have an object here, so we can keep these two together. We don't have to split it up. Lastly, they are drinking tea at a cafe together. So they is our topic. Do you remember? 그들, right? 그들은. Okay. Where are we doing this? At a cafe. 카페. Once again, Korean doesn't have F's. So instead of F, we're going to use P in that case. Instead of Z, we're going to use J. 카페. And then what are we drinking? We're drinking tea. 차. And then, so that's going to be our object, or what. And then how are we doing this? We're doing it together. 같이 or 함께. There's two meanings or two words for the same. 함께. Both mean together. And then lastly, we're drinking it. 마시어요. Condense it down. 마셔요 or 마십니다. 그들은 카페 차를 같이 마셔요. 차를 함께 마십니다. And that is all for this lesson.